All right, good afternoon, everybody. I am joined with the wonderful Susan Malik. She is a transformational coach that really specializes in overwhelming and how to attract abundance into your life. And Susan has been my coach, my friend, my confidant, everything to me. We met several years back now, and I remember when I first met you, there was just this energy that just was like, talk about law of attraction or like magnetism. And I'll never forget what you said. You said, I'm going to help you. We're gonna make things better. And you've done not, I mean, you have lived up to that promise day after day. We spent a lot of time together right away, and you showed me, opened my eyes to universal laws on how to utilize a lot of my own thought patterns to my benefit. And the proof is in the pudding. After meeting you, I have just got, my jobs have expanded. I literally have doubled my income. My life has become happier. My relationships have flourished. I mean, it's almost like a light switch went off, and even in my current situations, the way I approach things, the way people approach me, has just been phenomenal. And I really contest it to our relationship, your coaching, and all of that. So thank you for joining me for my episode 2 of my friendship series. And we're just so pleased to have you, and thank you for your time and all that you do.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here and talk to you today.
Great. Well, because we are kind of focusing on friendship, I did want to just kind of ask you, I it's funny because pathways generally go two ways, and
hmm
you have helped me grow so much. I'm actually just curious, have I had any influence or helped you grow within our friendship and relationship as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that coaching you was very powerful for me. You were the first person whom I coached who you really, um, you took everything to heart and you took action on it.
Mm.
And, I'd coached people in the past and I'd had some really fantastic experiences with that. But you were the first person that did everything that I coached. And I knew that this was real from my own personal experience, that people could actually do that and get fantastic benefits, which is what you have accomplished is amazing since that time together, especially how everything just fell into line as far as your career is concerned. And that was really one of the main areas of focus for you. But when you get clear and focused and you take action, the results are amazing. And you proved that. And I learned that, and even though it's a lesson that I knew and I had seen it happen, I'd never seen anyone do it as fully as you. So that was really powerful. And, as we have stayed connected through the years, you and I, we've developed a really nice relationship, a very nice friendship. And you are just, your spirit is, I don't know how to say it, but like, we're connected on a spiritual level, and it soothes the soul when we get to sit down and speak,
Oh,
which
that's
is
so great.
not very often, but I mean, when we do, it's really great quality.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's great. And that's interesting that you say that, because I really feel like there is a spiritual thing happening in our world right now,
hmm
to where some soothing would be, uh, you know, uh, just beneficial for everybody, with, the amping up of the new leader, or, the election, and the phobias that are spreading like crazy through the
Yeah. Yeah.
pandemic. And so it's is really nice. And I wish there was something that we could just kind of give the viewers right now that would help soothe and kind of bring a little bit of that spiritual connection as well. Do you have any ideas?
So I think that it's really important to know yourself
Mm.
and what soothes you, and to seek the truth within rather than focusing on the news or the coronavirus. And it keeps you in chaos if you continually bring those things in. I've distanced myself from it so much that a lot of times I don't even really know what's going on. I'm really busy, and I don't want to use my energy to focus on what may or may not happen. I want to focus on what's happening right now in my life and bring that silence and connect with the people around me that are important. And if you can manage to bring your awareness inside you, then you know, and I've shared this with you, that all is well,
Yes, it's one of my
because
mantras.
it's maintaining your center in the middle of chaos is what is important.
Right. I have a friend who says sitting lotus in the middle of a hurricane, right?
Right, exactly. And it's just that piece. Now, everything is going on around you, and you're not going to stop that. You have no control over it. And that's one of the things that I don't talk about politics much, but when people get all fired up about politics, I say, the extent of your control was when you went and into the voting booth and you voted, and that was the extent of your control. Now you have to release and let things go the way that they're going to go, because you don't have control over those people. You may be able to call and to call your senator or stage a protest, but that is the extent of your control. So being angry and upset about things that are going on, you've got to tune into what your purpose is, what your calling is, and focus on that, because that's going to bring you joy, and that is going to heal the world.
Yeah, you taught me a practice of filtering my thoughts through, just a simple question. Is this promoting abundance or is this promoting limitation? And if it's limitation, let it go. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
abundance, then keep going. And it's so interesting to me because as you mentioned control, the older I get to realize how little of control I actually have. I actually
Yeah.
more have like a guidance of trying to push things, or not, push isn't the right word, but focusing on things that bring and will then start to domino and snowball effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I think when you get into that mindset, it has an effect on everybody and everything around you. So with our current state of separation, I love how your immediate answer was be one, come
Mm-hmm.
in unity, and that will always then guide us forward and in the right direction. And it allows us to use our energy in a positive and productive way as well.
Right. And the one thing that we don't realize is that when we don't have control, we may have significant influence.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is that the way that you are and the way that you are being has an influence on everyone around you, and a ripple effect. And let me give you an example. I used to be a manager of a call center, and in that call center, my employees would take phone calls, and they would support the end user in whatever technology issue that they were having. And what I encouraged them to do with every single call is know, and this was in healthcare. So we had physicians and caregivers calling to get their technology needs met. And there was a time when some of the employees were like, oh, that doctor is so stupid, or that nurse, I can't believe how dumb they are. And first of all, that person has taken the call from the physician. That is not their expertise. IT or technology was not their expertise, but caring for the patient is. So be good at your own expertise, be excellent, and give service, because what you do, if you diminish that doctor or that nurse calling in for that technology need, that energy is passed on to the patient. But if they have a fantastic experience with you and they don't feel like that you're treating them as if they're stupid, or, they're going to feel really good about that interaction, and it's going to be passed on to the other clinicians and the patient themselves. So that influence, that phone call, that simple phone call, has the ability to affect the patient in the hospital and the patient's family, because now the patient's having a good day because the patient got great care, and it's because you on the phone was pleasant, that you were pleasant and accommodating, and you made that doctor or nurse feel valuable.
I love that. I love that. That's fantastic. How every single interaction, how every single moment has that ability. And, we know that as being vibrational beings, that, we can literally build that up. And then, like you were saying, even if we're not intentionally doing that, just our demeanor will have that effect. So,
Exactly.
I love that. Well, I do want to ask you too, what is your favorite moment of our friendship?
Well, I've had a lot of favorite moments, but I think, being able to sit down together and talk, and come together and cook together, and maybe have a meal together with you and your family. And I cherish those times, because it feels so connected. And I mean, there's many of those times, and then you make me laugh. And and you're the same age as my son, and I I'm across the country from my kids, and that really means a lot to me, to be able to connect with you and be reminded of, my family. So there's not just one. It's like every interaction that we have is the best.
Right, that's awesome.
It really is. It really is. And
Yeah,
and that's because of the level of integrity that you bring to the friendship.
I was gonna say, because you never ever cease to amaze me in your way of challenging me,
Mm.
because you do it in such a gentle way, that I can't A, refuse, and B, it makes me think, and inside of that thinking, it helps me unlock doors and like pathways that I didn't even know existed. And so, just to kind of bring it full circle, that's really why I'm even here doing this today, is because you challenged me to get out there and to do these and have a good time, and just express myself in big ways, because whatever you want to call it, spirit, universe, has been calling me to speak out and to do this. And so your guidance and your challenges and your help has just it's just been phenomenal for me and my growth system.
Well, and I feel the same way about you. You've given me the opportunity to really grow as a person and as a friend as well. So I should ask you the same question then. What is your favorite moment for
So
our friendship?
So I have, like you, I actually have a series of them. And this might sound silly, but every time I see your daughter, it just blows my mind, because I've seen her go through all these stages and become like this adult at this point in time, and see how she can control things. Well, once again, that's a play on words, but how she is interacting with the world around her is just phenomenal. And then, your ability to get my wife out of the house, to get her doing things is so phenomenal to me, because she's so family centered and
Hmm.
focused that, that's all she does all the time. And that's her number one priority. So, you having that ability, and also, to piggyback what you said, the conversations that we have are, just nothing short of miraculous. Like, you know, I have a tendency of living in my past and really over analyzing things. And when I talk with you, when I'm with you, it's all just gone. And it's like this picture of the future is there. You taught me this process called segment intention.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that is so in line with the new age quantum theory, with being able to create and attract new things into your life, that I can almost sum up that process of something new, something phenomenal, rewiring and reconnecting into bigger possibilities and opportunity. And so it's not a moment, maybe. It's more of a feeling and an energy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, this is such a loaded question, asking you what you feel you're an expert on, because I feel like I can contest that you're an expert on a ton of things, but what would be something that you consider yourself an expert on and with?
I have experienced a lot of overwhelm in my life, and it started at a very young age, and I had a very traumatic upbringing. And throughout, my childbearing years, and I have 5 children, and so I was and I, had a career, and I had a retail business, and I was a massage therapist on top of all that, and the overwhelm, it was absolutely huge. It was absolutely huge because I had so much on my plate, and I worked a full-time job in the businesses. So I think that through that practice of trying to keep myself okay,
Hmm.
I became an expert on how to overcome overwhelm.
Gotcha.
And I created a process to overcome overwhelm.
Wonderful.
So, and I don't know that I'm necessarily an expert, maybe an expert for me, but I know that the process that I created, it worked for me, and I've seen it work for other people. So if I'm an expert on anything, it would be, how to get your balance and back, and to maintain your center, and to focus on, you know, sorry, I got a text message, so it's gone. I thought I had turned that off, but apparently I didn't. So overcoming overwhelm, that is something that I learned to do very well. And I have a unique ability to be able to guide people through overwhelm. And I think you've experienced that yourself.
Oh yes, definitely. I can speak into that too, because you know these subtle shifts that you help me realize. And I wish I could give a subtle shift to anybody who ever watches this, because you taught me these processes, and as I put these processes together, just working on them, all of a sudden I woke up in a different world. And I know that might sound crazy to some people, but it's the truth. When I first started working with you, we went through the filter of abundance, limitation, and then we went through the filter of what's my intention, and what am I planning, and where am I going. And we went through all these filters, and inside that, you just taught me these processes of how I could always realign. Like pivoting, that was one of the coolest things ever, is when you helped me become aware of my emotions, and that my emotions were actually a blessing, that they I think a metaphor is, you don't yell at your car for being empty on gas. You take action to refill it. So as your emotions are like that gauge on your gas, as you feel bad or low, you realize there's something right now that I'm perpetuating that's not benefiting me.
Mm-hmm.
And the process of just pivoting, going, okay, well, what am I thinking about right now? And almost like grabbing it, like, okay, I got you now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Like I could read the writing on the wall. What's the opposite of that? And just by entertaining a different thought of the exact opposite of that, the feeling, the emotion, everything just changes.
It changes instantly.
And
And it's a conscious decision.
yes.
You can choose, and you are choosing when you stay in a state of overwhelm, or you're in whatever emotional state. You can decide in that moment to have a different state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy to do, but you can do it. You can choose it. It is a choice. We are not victims of our emotions.
Shoot, we're not victims of anything, right? That just
True.
gives away our power. And that's another crazy thing. What's the opposite of being a victim, right? It's being a confident, empowered human being. And so,
Exactly.
even I just felt my energy shift just stepping into
Mm-hmm.
that and
Mm-hmm.
feeling that for, a different kind of way. And, that was one thing that you helped me with too, is, I've had a history of drinking and different things. Well, I'm chasing the feeling. I'm chasing trying
Yeah.
to feel better. And, especially recently, happy to report I haven't had a drink in a long time, is that, I don't need that. And more as my emotional set points are are even a greater feeling than anything that I could ever put into my body, so to speak. And so, just such a phenomenal way to shift your perspective. And then here's something that you taught me too: is if you face it and you shift and you face it right on, it doesn't have any more power over you. It's
Right.
done. It's gone. That's it.
Right.
So, and I think about, kind of what we were saying originally is facing the fear of uncertainty, is definitely something that our society is going through right now. And uncertainty, I think, can be a blessing, and it can be like a blank canvas for us to be creating within. And really hope that, as a society, as a collective consciousness, we can start shifting into that greater perspective.
Right. Because when you step into the darkness, the light is on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it may not feel like it, and it can be extremely scary. But if you've ever done anything that scared you a lot, you know that you came through it and you did okay, whatever it may have been.
And that feeling can be exhilarating, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm an adrenaline junkie, but to be able to continually face that is pretty phenomenal. One thing about facing the same situation over and over again, and I just want to share because you helped me with this too, is I remember one day you just simply asked me, well, then there's something that you're missing, right, Josh? What is it that you feel like you're missing if you're constantly and consistently having to face the same fear over and over and over again? And I think through that, I realized, oh, well, then I'm perpetuating it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm perpetuating it, then there is a thought process, emotional set point, that I'm almost addicted to, or that I continue to want. And you said it's got to be benefiting you somehow. So
Right.
what is it doing? How is it benefiting you that you're not letting go of it? And just mind blowing for me to do that introspection and then have the opportunity for somebody like yourself to reflect back to me and continue to just guide me, point me in the right
Mm-hmm.
direction. And
So, do you remember what that was, what it is you were holding on to, and then what benefit you were getting from it?
yeah, so, and I believe what I'm referring to in this instance is a type of self-sacrifice.
Mm,
And I think a friend of mine called it a Jesus complex, right? And it was this need for self gratification or validation, really. And so when I was creating those situations where I was the underdog or I had to fight, then I had this opportunity for myself to feed myself in that way.
So you mean to receive praise or to have attention? Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I couldn't recall we've talked a lot, so I couldn't recall the specific thing.
Well, there's onions to, or it's like an onion.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
layers.
So, and I think a lot of times we do that and not realize that, we're searching for something and we perpetuate this behavior, and because we're trying to control it. We're trying to control the situation. We're trying to control the people around us. And it could be as subtle as, oh, I don't want them to think that whatever. I don't want them to think this. So I'm going to do this thing with this expected response from that person. That way I can feel like I'm in control, or they can think what I want them to think about me. And, you can only do that for so long before people see who you really are. And, that's part of being in integrity. In order to attract the right people in your life, and to have the friends that are important to you and the friends that you really want, and, like, for instance, you desire loyalty and integrity and honesty. You've got to be willing to be that to yourself and to other people.
Yeah.
And, if you're holding back your feelings or trying to control the situation in a relationship because, well, you don't want them to hurt them, or you don't want to hurt them, or you're afraid of what they might think of you, you're not being honest with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not integrity for a relationship. And even for yourself, it's really lack of integrity for yourself if you're scared to be vulnerable by sharing your true self and your true feelings.
That's exactly it. Yes. Well, I want to be very respectful of your time. And I know that we've probably carried on a little bit longer than we should have, but any final thoughts you want to share before we go ahead and close out?
I just want to let you know how much I've appreciated your friendship and how you've helped me grow as a coach and as a person, and how, we've been able to embrace each other and our families, and to come together with a really warm and loving relationship with all of us, and in integrity where it feels really comfortable, and it's easy to be vulnerable and to share in that situation. So I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. And, I want to piggyback that and just say thank you. This has been one of the greatest relationships of my life. And I just appreciate you. And at some point, friendship turns into kinship. And
Yes.
I think of you as family. And, I just can't thank you enough for always being there for me, for my family, and for having this, this
Yeah, it's
awesomeness.
great.
Well, thank you for joining me on. Right now I'm just calling it the JDA podcasting. I know we've thrown around conscious, be included with the consciousness and this and that, but right now I'm just having fun and just going with it. So thank you for joining me today,
Yeah,
and have a great one.
thanks.